I'm Michael Janae. Welcome to episode 12 of this series of 24. Ask, the keys to a better life. So today we're going to talk about relationships, right? Questioning relationships. How can motivational questions help us in our relationships? Well, we all have different kinds of relationships, whether they're our significant other or friends or business associates, whatever they may be. Relationships have one thing in common. Successful relationships have everything to do with communication. How well we communicate in these relationships determine their success. So let's focus a little bit on personal relationships, because those tend to be the most dynamic and often the most problematic ones. And the key to a successful relationship as it refers to communication is really the art of listening. Because most people don't listen. We talked about that in a previous episode of this series. Listening is an art. And a lot of people don't listen. They're just waiting to talk. Now, I know that's not you. You're not one of those listeners who, while they're listening to someone's constantly thinking about the next thing they're going to say. And you certainly wouldn't be someone who's listening to someone tell a story and go, oh, I've got a better story. And as soon as they stop talking, I'm going to jump in. I know that's not you, but if it was you, how can we help you, right? So let's talk about what questions you can ask when it comes to listening in conversations in your relationships. So one of the keys in terms of asking questions and listening is, while you're listening to someone, asking yourself some internal questions. Things like, how can I make this person feel like I'm really giving them my full attention? It could be simple, like not letting your eyes wander around the room while they're talking, or not looking at your phone while they're talking, right? Just looking them in the eye and giving them your full attention. Or maybe it's, how can I make sure that I'm hearing everything they're saying? Again, maybe it's something simple like repeating what you think you heard. Okay, so what I heard you say was this. Or maybe it's just internally absorbing everything they're saying and putting it into your own words, in your own mind as they're talking to you. So the art of conversation, and really that's what it is, it's an art, has a lot to do with maybe asking questions before you start the conversation. So for instance, what's the purpose of this conversation I'm about to have? That can affect whether it's professional or personal, friends, any of those conversations that you have, any relationship you have with someone. When you get ready to start having a conversation, asking that question can transform the conversation you have, because now you're clear about what the whole purpose of the conversation is. And here's another good one. How do I want this person to feel when this conversation's over? See, that puts the onus on how you want them to feel. It's not about you now. It's about this person you're about to interact with. How do you want them to feel when they walk away from the conversation? If you've got that in your mind and a question you're trying to answer, it might change the way you talk to them. It might change your tone. It might change your approach to the conversation. All of these things will help you have a more successful relationship. Now, we all have personal relationships that can sometimes be a little challenging. And when we're approaching that kind of a challenging conversation, that's when things get a little sticky. So asking a different question before you get started can really make a difference. Here's a really good one. How much do I care about this person? And forget about the argument. Forget about whatever it is you're about to really get into with them. Stop for a second before you get started and go, how much does this person mean to me? And look, we all have discussions, right? Where it's 2 points of view and arguments, and I'm right and you're wrong, and all of that happens. And sometimes during that conversation, while you're listening, it's again important to ask some different questions. Another thing you might do is just take stock about how you feel. You know, when we're having difficult conversations or we're having an argument, or just we're in different rooms and we're fighting and it just doesn't feel good, taking stock of how you feel is really important. Because if you ask yourself that question, how do I feel right now? I don't feel good. This sucks. I really care about this person, and we've been fighting for hours, and it's just, now we're not talking to each other, and I feel crappy. It just doesn't feel good. And again, you go back to that, what does this person mean to me? How am I feeling right now? And maybe you can change the question from, is it important that I'm right and that they know that I'm right and that they're wrong? Or is it more important that somehow we figure out a way to get past this so that we can both stop feeling the way I feel right now? And look, we all want to be right. And sometimes there's just two differences of opinion and you're not going to see eye to eye. So what do you do then? A great question you can ask is, what if there's parts of both of our arguments that are correct? And what if we could find a way to marry those two components together to find a way to move forward? Isn't that better than just yelling and screaming and being, I'm right and you're wrong, or this is the way to go and this is not the way to go? One more question you might be able to use when you're having a difficult conversation. And that question is, what if neither one of us has to be right? Think about that for a second. If you're in the middle of a difficult conversation and suddenly you thought to yourself, well, what if we don't have to be right? Or even better, what if we were both trying to solve this problem for someone else? Maybe someone you care about, a family member, a son, a daughter, mother, father, friend, best friend across the country. What if you and your significant other, or you and your boss, or you and your whoever, instead of fighting, were trying to find a solution for this problem for someone else? Think how that would change the conversation you were having. So that's it. That's the questions of relationships. How questions can be used to help you build better relationships and live a better life. You know, in an earlier episode, we talked about acting as the secret to success. Well, really, there's another component. There's an invisible ink to being successful in having a better life. And we'll tackle that next on 24.